Welcome to Scene, where the art world meets the real world. Every 2 weeks, we sit down with emerging and established artists to offer a genuine glimpse into their lives and minds, all in an authentic and totally straightforward manner. I'm Carrie Scott, your host. And with 2 decades of experience as a curator and art historian, I firmly believe in the transformative power of art, if it's seen. The first time I spoke to Paddy Johnson, she interviewed me for her podcast, Art Problems. And this time, we reversed the roles because I wanted to find out all about Netvvrk, her platform, which is a membership-based network, for lack of a better word, to help artists get ahead. Now, it's part professional development, part mentorship, part Andy Warhol's factory for the digital age. And I mean that seriously, because I think what Paddy has done with Netvvrk is create a space where artists can help support one another, where they can grow, where they can talk about their successes, their failures. And so it literally is what Warhol might have been trying to do with the factory, a place where artists can be vulnerable, can be open, and can support one another. So Warhol's factory without the ick and the drugs and the sex and all that stuff. Paddy Johnson is doing a great thing. And this interview will make that plain as day. Paddy Johnson, this is like part 2, almost, for you and me.
That is correct.
We did this in reverse a few months ago, where you very kindly invited me onto your podcast, and I got to talk all about myself. And at the end of that, I was like, hang on a minute here. I want to put you in the hot seat and ask you all the awesome questions. And you said, okay, Carrie, I'll do that. And here we are.
Here we are. What is it? Is the hot question, the burning question that needs to be asked?
Do you want to know what? I normally have like 5 or 6. I've got 12 for you. There's no way I'm going to get through.
Oh, wow.
I know, but I've got 12. And they're like legit 12. Like, was Netvvrk born out of exhaustion or optimism? I mean, they're weird. I was doing them all. I was in a really good mood. So they're really good moody, which is funny because I'm in a really bad mood today. So we'll see how this plays out.
Well, hopefully we can turn that bad mood around.
I think we will. I think that's what you are the super pro at.
We'll find out.
Exactly. We will find out. Okay. So, but let's start with what was Netvvrk born out of? You have this career as a critic and a writer and you're kind of multi-hyphenated, and then you start Netvvrk. Why?
Yeah. So, I think like maybe we can pull back a little bit and just explain like what Netvvrk is. And actually that is a more difficult question to answer than one would think. So I think the short answer is that Netvvrk is a membership for mid-career artists, and we offer like high-level professional development advice. What exactly does that mean in practice? It's kind of where things get complicated.
And where's the cutoff, or where does mid-career artists start?
Yeah, well, and again, this is something that, I mean, that's a whole other question in and of itself. I recently ran a survey on where I asked mid-career artists, which in this case, I think like the majority of my audience is like somewhere between 35 and 80. So we have like a big range of people who have been practicing usually for at least 5 years outside of art school, or they haven't gone to art school, but they've been practicing for at least that time. And I sent out a survey and I just asked, Are you beginner, intermediate, or what we call proficient, which is the stage after intermediate, but sounds like exactly the same thing, because even within these basic terms, it's very difficult to say. I just didn't want to say like advanced, because I think that reaching a level of mastery inside the fine art industry is just very, very difficult. So with a beginner, we say that you haven't been practicing for at least 5 years. You don't really know your place inside the art industry, but you're just getting into it, so you're excited. You're ready to do the work. Intermediate, you've been doing this for a while. Your revenue probably looks like somewhere between operating at a loss and $15,000 a year, right? So that's the intermediate level. And you at this point, you know where you are in the art industry, but you're stuck. You're showing at the same places. Your network hasn't really expanded. That is the bulk of the mid-career artists that we work with inside of Netvvrk. And then the second largest group is the proficient group. At that stage, you're making anywhere between like 5,000 and 25,000. So this is, and I want to point this part out, because like if you're working at a proficient stage, mid-level business in any other industry, you're making multiple six figures, even seven figures. You have several, multiple people working for you. If you're at this level inside the art industry, oftentimes you're not making a living yet. Now, the revenue stream, I think, like really can vary quite a bit. So like I've used that as a ballpark, but you could be in the proficient and still making, and make like $100K a year. The difference, I think, in the proficient level between that and mastery is when you get to mastery, usually you're getting the high level grants and you're showing at like Freeze, Art Basel, that sort of thing. So, and again, there's exceptions for every rule. You can show at Art Basel, still not make a living off your art, right? So, those are like the extremely loose categories. So, but in terms of taking a very long time to answer your question, mid-career for us usually ranges between that that intermediate and proficient stage where you are working and you're doing a lot of work, but you're definitely feeling like you get stuck. And that is particularly acute at the proficient stage, where you can get to a point where your Instagram is good. You're like, all your website is great. Your art is fantastic. But you're still stuck and you can't move past the proficient stage. And so that's actually, I think, the place where a lot of artists really get stuck and can't move forward. And the job becomes a lot more difficult. It's pretty easy to get somebody from an intermediate stage into proficient. It's a lot harder to get a proficient artist into the mastery level, because that's when you're looking at moving somebody from the top 5% to the top 0.1%.
So, and what are you doing? I mean, you make it sound, you do give it a bit of optimism if it is like layered with some frustration about like, okay, there are lots of artists out there who are not making any money or not enough money to live on, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you doing? How are you helping them make those jumps?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's like there's many answers to this question. I mean, I guess the first thing I want to do in terms of framing, I guess, is to say, like, every artist's career is individual and different. And so I think one of the things that is sort of challenging when you think about, like, okay, well, what am I going to do to move one artist from here to here, let alone like 900, which is what we have inside the membership, is like, how do you account for that individual nature? Well, there are some things that sort of remain the same. And what I try to do is really help artists focus on where they're, like, understanding their exact place within the industry and how they communicate that. So within the so I guess, like, most artists have a website that can be improved. So most artists have support materials that can be improved, right? So getting your website together, getting an email list together, Instagram, all those things. We want to make sure that all of those are working together well. And then I think that once you get to a point where, like, your art is pretty good, let's not say pretty good. Your art is good. Like, it works. You're putting in the work. There's a rigor to it. Your purpose, your narrative, like all of those things, but you're still stuck. A lot of what we're doing, and this is what we're doing at all levels, is like, okay, what are the levers that I have that are within my control? Because you don't control market demand. You don't control elements of the art world like luck. You don't control who's on a jury, those sorts of things. But you can control how often you travel, for example. You can control your outreach and how specific you are with that outreach. And I don't, like, most artists, I think, probably should not be doing a lot of individual outreach at the beginning. Like, you're not ready for it. But like a really advanced artist, they're going to do a lot of that because they have the connections to do that. And so the more the more you do the work, the more you are able to build your confidence. One of the things that we do inside of Netvvrk is we make all of that process transparent. So you can see somebody else who is at your level doing things that move themselves up that, like, those rungs. And they'll break down the process for you. So you see it. It's not like Instagram where you only see the win. You're just like, oh, I got this grant. Like, inside of Netvvrk, we have a culture of saying, like, I got this grant. This is what I did to receive, like, to get it. These are the steps I took. Here's where I ran into problems. And you see that inside the group coaching calls that I have. The reviews where we review, we call them asset reviews, where I'll go through and, like, audit somebody's Instagram or give line item edits to their statement. The thing that I like doing best, actually, is editing people's emails. Because the emails are, like, artists, I hate to say this, but there are many artists who write terrible, terrible emails that they're not clear on what they're asking for because they don't really want to make the ask. So it's just this dithering email that'll never get a response. So I've rewritten a lot of those so that they have, like, specific studio requests, studio visit requests, or very specific asks. And gotten people a lot of opportunities that they might not have gotten otherwise. I mean, the art's always going to be the first thing, but you don't want to spoil that by writing something that's not clear. in its intention.
So it's almost professional practices, like how to communicate where you are right now and then how to go and tell people about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a big part of it. Yeah. I mean, we do a lot inside of the membership where we do a lot of community building. So inside the membership, artists collaborate with each other. So we have accountability groups. Those are small groups where people work on the curriculum together. We have something called collectives, which are arranged via region and also via interest groups. So people who, like, let's say you're really interested in the environment. We have a woods and forest collective that's like, they have their own curriculum. They have like regular meetups, all the rest. So like there's that part of the membership on top of the professional development that you get, on top of the curriculum that you get, and on top of like a member database, a residency database, like all of these resources that give you models for the things that you need to do.
And when you say curriculum, is it like a 6-week course, an 8-week course, a lifetime? Like, what are you? Yeah, are we going to school?
You kind of are. You know, the curriculum, it's recorded and it's like step by step, right? So we have 4 modules. It's self-paced. So you could consider it a little bit like Netflix, except that you're watching a series. You're not just picking things randomly, although you can do that. And so we have a section called, we have like 4 core principles. Position. This helps you understand your level and place in the art world, your narrative. Then we have represent. That's all the materials that you use to represent yourself, your email, your website, your bio, your artist statement. We have manage. That's like all of the materials that you use to manage the studio. That's a really resource heavy section. And then we have amplify.
Sorry, just to get into the weeds, like,
yeah,
what's in manage? So email list, that sort of thing.
No, email is actually in represent. Because that matters. No, but inside of manage, we have like how to manage your inventory. We have examples of grants. We have a lot of legal documents that you might use for consignments, exhibition relationships, like that sort of thing. And we also have databases. So we have a press database, we have a curator database, we have gallery database. So that's what's inside that.
It's so cool. I mean, it is so cool that you've done that. Like, you plucked this out of thin air, and it's something that so many artists do need. And it's amazing to me. Like, I was sitting there listening to you thinking, God, why don't you have like a partnership with every MFA program across America? Like, every single MFA program should have access to Netvvrk, because they're not teaching this, and they should be.
We're open, although we're not open to students. You know, you do have to be out of school for 5 years, and we do that really intentionally, actually. Partially because we don't want hobbyists in there, but also because we have a lot of teachers inside the membership, and if they don't all want to have relationships with their students inside the membership, so we'd have to have it. The Netvvrk curriculum could be available for MFA students for sure, but not the community.
So, okay, getting back to my original question, Paddy.
Yeah.
Dodged completely. Was it born out of exhaustion or optimism? Like, why did you do, like, this is not easy work that you're doing either. I have worked with artists. I work with artists. They are not the easiest group. And you're identifying a problem group, like a group that is stuck and that you might not be able, like, you can't just fix it. You're not a doctor who's like, here, take a pill. Not, we could argue whether that is actually what, anyway, let's not get into the Medi reads my terrible analogy, but yeah. What was it born out of?
Wait, the question was like the options were optimism or
exhaustion.
Exhaustion.
Yeah.
I think neither. I mean,
good.
I like part of it. I mean, for me, when I started working with artists, I mean, I hate to admit this, but it is, I do have to be transparent about it. It wasn't because I was like, if only I could help so many artists all the time. It was really like, I have been doing adjunct jobs for 5 years now. They pay nothing and I cannot pay my rent this month. I guess I will use my mailing list and sell a course. And then suddenly I was like, oh, I could do this. Now, when I started Netvvrk, that was about a year and a half after I started doing those things. And I will say that, like, even though I have the disclaimer, like, I really, when I started this, it was just like I needed a way to pay my rent. It has always been the case that my favorite people to work with are artists, bar none. And I don't find them difficult. I think people talk about working with artists like trying to herd cats. I think that's a terrible cliche that's not true at all. Artists are very driven and focused on their art. So, like, if you know that they're focused on their art, like, it's very easy to get them to combine efforts. And you see this all the time because, like, artists work together all the time. It's not really a situation where, the creativity rules the day and you can't really get anything done. Like, my favorite thing is to edit artist statements. I can't even believe I'm saying this out loud. I love it. Like, I love looking at artist websites. I love giving feedback to artists. And the reason is that it brings me closer to their art and the way that they think. And artists think in a way that I cannot. I have, like, a lot of wishful thinking in terms of, I went to art school, so I know how inventive I am with materials. I'm not like, I can't do it. I could draw anything so it looks like what it should, but I don't have a lot of, like, ideas for art. Artists have tons of ideas. They're filled with, like, they're really inventive. And it's thrilling to be around people who think who just break the mold in that way. So I'm like, this is a dream come true for me. Like, just give me more.
That's awesome. And you're right. That the myth of the difficult artist is a trope that's, well carried. But they can be tricky. I mean, they can be tricky. So I mean, anyone can be tricky, I suppose. But I as much as I love working with artists, and I do sometimes think, gosh, like, is there, I don't even know. I'm not going to focus on me. I was going to bring that around. I'm not, because I still have 12 questions and I don't. I'm on, like, we've done 3-ish. What about,
it's all good.
What do you think the biggest thing artists don't realize about what their power is? So, like, we've talked about rewriting artist statements and helping them do grants. But what do you think what do you think that they forget?
Well, there's a lot of focus, and understandably so, right? Like there's a lot of focus on external validation, right? And there's a lot of focus on it because this is how the art world works, right? Like you get a show, you have to be invited to that show. I mean, unless it's, there's an application process, but within the Whitney Biennial, let's say, like you have to be invited to that. If you get a solo show at MoMA, like you had to be invited for that. If you get a grant, like somebody selected you. And so when that is the case, and there's it feels like a black box, right? Like you're going to focus on these external, methods of validation, kinds of validation that you don't have control over. And the thing is that what happens in that situation is that you can forget about the levers that you do have control over, right? And so what I always want to advocate to artists about is not giving up that agency too. Like you don't have control over the jury, but you do have control over what your application looks like and how many times you submit. Like the more people see your work, the more familiar they get with it. And so even though you don't get to see the selection process, it's very different than I think like a lot of different, other businesses where you have more visibility in terms of like the process of what happened between when you did X thing and when you got some money or, visibility or whatever. Inside the art world, you don't see that, but you can fill in a lot of the blanks. And so I guess that's where I think sometimes artists lose a little bit of agency, is that they forget that there are more blanks to fill in than it might appear.
I think that's absolutely right. And I'm constantly telling artists that I work with, it's a numbers game. Like most things, you've got to keep like, if you're after a studio visit, keep emailing. Like it doesn't annoy anyone. And I said this in a talk and everyone thought it was hilarious, but I was like, hang on, you guys will think this is funny, but I mean it. Like what is annoying is a child standing in your office, like poking you and being like, mommy, 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 mommy. That's annoying. Sending an email repeatedly is not annoying. It's just not. You can ignore the email. You don't have to respond to the email. The email can sit in your inbox. You are not being annoying by following up and being like, hey, I don't know. Did you see what I sent to you? Would you like to come to the studio? I'm just going to ask again.
It's funny. Like we had a guest into that, John Massier from Hall Walls, who's a curator there. And somebody from the membership had asked him, like, what do you do when a curator doesn't email you back? And he said, my biggest problem as a curator is artists who don't email me back. And like that just like blew so many people's minds. But again, sometimes we get in our own way, because I see inside the membership, sometimes, I'll see artists really struggle with like returning an email because they want the email to be perfect. And so then it takes like a week to respond to something that they know how to respond to. It's just like, it just feels like this huge lift to get it right. And so, yeah, it's definitely not annoying to to send an email. I think the worst thing, it's worse to not send the email and have your friends annoyed that they don't know that your show is up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. Tell me a bit more about the transparency piece, the sort of culture of sharing inside Netvvrk. So that to me feels like you've built something that you wish, this is me putting words in your mouth, that you wish the art world was a bit more transparent. I think that's what you wish. And so you made it so. How do artists deal with that? Are they like, oh, I don't want to talk about my failure and my success? Or is everyone, because everyone has to do it, is everyone kind of au fait with it and happy?
I don't think everybody is okay with it. Like we definitely have some members who are like, okay, the community is not really for me. I'm going to do something else. And that's fine, right? Like I think like everybody has to decide how they're going to use it. But I think in terms of transparency, we had one artist tell me recently, she said that it's like one of the problems with the art world is that you can get so jealous of what other people are doing. And Netvvrk is like an anti-jealousy machine. And that's really what I've tried to model here. And I think the transparency, it's not just like, let me break down how this happened or, whatever thing it is that shows how you got an accomplishment. It's showing up in an authentic way. And I've actually lost my thread.
Well, I think it's showing up in this authentic way, right? It is exactly what you're asking of the artists who join the network, right? That they all come to talk about the success and the failure so that everyone can learn from both. Because as you say, currently the way the art will work, because of obvious reasons, right, is that we're all on external validation. It's all on sort of one-way transmit. You go to a gallery, you see the end thing, right? It's even more so than Instagram. You don't really see the studio process. You don't see the failure of the studio process. You don't see the inner workings of the artist unless you've just read Jack Whitten's book. There goes my light again. I'm not having a good tech day. Oh, no, it's not even going to come back on. I thought if I moved, it would do it. There we go. Right. So I think artists aren't used to really, talking through how they got to where they got to, because the art world hasn't really allowed for that or made space for that.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing inside the Netvvrk membership that we do require is what I like to refer to as the cone of silence. So I personally think that a lot of us would like to spend less time on social media because it does not feel safe. And it doesn't feel safe because it is not safe. There are no safe places on the internet, especially now. We live in a terrible time. So we talked about this before. We even started the, this podcast. This is, it's very difficult to focus on building a career when you watch the world falling apart around you. And, I don't want to say that I promise a completely safe space. It is, I don't think anybody can promise that, but it's run by a sane person. And that is, in this world, that is worth its weight in gold. It's just, I don't know this is a whole other podcast, I think, but it's just, we all need places now where we can feel like we're united in purpose. And that is one thing like, it's actually kind of relaxing to be on Netvvrk, because when you go there, people are just focused on the work, you know? And so, yes, it's not like we're impervious to what's going on, but there is a kind of focus that makes it easier to be there. And to pick up on the thread that I lost, in terms of transparency, one of the things that happens when you lay out your, like, what happened for you, in terms of a success or something that feels like a failure, is that it makes it very clear that your art is, and your career is individual, and it has to be managed in a very way that is specific to you. And that is what removes it, I think, from a lot of the competition. And I noticed that I felt so much more secure in myself when I knew myself. Like, I stopped comparing myself to other people once it became very clear to me what it was that I was doing, what my path was, and what kinds of decisions were going to be best for me. And so what I try to encourage inside the membership, which I think is one of these intangible things, but it's a lot of managing your career is really self-knowledge, like, and self-growth. And we don't talk about that enough.
I mean, you need to just write a whole book for people. Like, I want Netvvrk for people. Like, I can't join Netvvrk. What the hell? I want to. There.
You can be a guest for sure.
Okay, thank you. I will do that. But seriously, like, I think you're absolutely right on so many levels. That would be a whole other podcast about the internet not feeling safe about us. Like, everyone needs the time to think about who they are and what they want that isn't based on a bunch of external factors, like what drives you, which is why I kind of sort of opened the whole conversation with, okay, well, why Netvvrk?
Yeah, and I do think that one of the reasons, and maybe we're just like circling around the same topic, but one of the reasons this is so hard is that the art world, it does feel like it's built on appearances. So you always have to be presenting yourself as larger than you are. And then that you can see how this really impacts artists, because you have to present yourself as larger than you are, but then you have responsibilities that you can't handle because you're not at that scale. And I experienced all of this when I ran the blog Art F City, because I had to present myself like I was this like booming enterprise in order to fundraise. And like, I barely paid myself. You know, it was really, really a challenge. And I think it caused more problems than it solved. And so one of the things that I really try to do is take the knowledge that I got from like years of success, but also failure at Art F City. You know, like, it was not, I had some of the best times in my life running that blog, like connecting with people, connecting with artists, like, you know, shared misery over the fact that I could only afford like McDonald's hamburgers and fries even after a fundraiser, you know, and like taking that knowledge and like helping artists just like, and just saying like, how can you avoid this? I don't want you to eat at McDonald's after you've done something major. I want you to have, like, I want you to have more than I had. But it also like, you know, it gives me an understanding of like what it means to kind of build a budget and then feel embarrassed about having to put line items down for like beer and pizza, rather than just putting everything into supplies because your budget is so small that you can't pay anybody. And like, that's the best you can do.
But there's no reason to be embarrassed about that, I don't think.
There's no reason to be embarrassed, but I was embarrassed. I have friends who are embarrassed. I've had to walk people through those budget lines. It's hard.
It is hard.
This is, so like, yeah, I don't know. I think the art world is a tough place to build a career.
Massively. We are so aligned there. I mean, we're so aligned on so much. Listen, we have 10 minutes left, and I want to ask some I want to ask some really obvious questions like,
yeah,
why is it called Netvvrk? Aside from that, it's really funny to say.
I mean, that's kind of part of why it's called Netvvrk. I formed Workshop first, so Netvvrk seemed to make sense, but it's a little bit of a play on like how I think a German curator might say Netvvrk. So yeah, it's a joke. That's all it is.
It's a good one too, and it does make me giggle every time I say it. And I don't know who I embody, but I embody someone very specific when I do it. I am not me.
It's funny. I mean, I can't tell whether it was a good idea because absolutely nobody can spell it. Like we have members who've been members for like 3 years and they still can't spell it,
It's 3 R's, people. It's 3 R's.
2 R's.
Is it?
Wait, no, it's not. It's 2 V's. Netvvrk. 1 R. 1 R.
Oh, that's so funny. I have it with 2 R's in my brain. Look at that.
No, 2 V's, 1 R.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Well, there we go. At least we spelled it out for everyone listening.
Even I got it wrong.
Yeah, for a second. Jeez.
Yeah.
What's not good? SEO must hate you or love you. Okay. If you could kind of block one behavior, like auto block from Netvvrk, would it be like vagueness? Would it be using ChatGPT? Would it be like not putting the ask in the top of the email? What would it be if there was a one thing that you could just say, okay, we're not doing that anymore, everybody. We are not. She's got it because she's laughing. Tell me.
Well, the problem is that you've seeded so many ideas that I have opinions on all of them. So quickly, I will say, though, that I actually really like AI and I think that artists should use it. I mean, if everybody else is using it, you won't have a competitive advantage if you don't. I would say I would block the use of the word complexity.
Ooh, just gone. Not allowed.
Done. Just remove it. I mean, it's a needless adjective. It's much better to explain why something is complex, like the complexity, than just saying it's like, I work with complex ideas about blah, 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 blah. Like, no, get rid of the ideas, get rid of the complex. Just tell me what you do. So, nuance is in there too.
I'm now stuck. I'm like stuck there. I'm like, complexity. Do I hate that? I think I do hate that. I've never realized I hate that. Someone said to me recently, the aesthetics of failure. And I was like, that means nothing. What does that mean? You can't no, nothing. So mine would be some sort of vague use of many words that sound good, but mean nothing. Okay. What about when you have to elevator pitch Netvvrk, do you say it's another platform? I don't think it is another platform. Like it's not a
no. I don't. Yeah, no. I mean,
membership.
This is a funny thing to say, but I really don't, I run a membership. I don't think anybody wants a membership. And nor should you, right? Like I say that Netvvrk helps artists get the shows, grants, and residencies of their dreams. Now, that sounds a little bit cheesy. In fact, the New York Times made fun of me for that. But you know what? I feel like it's important to stick to that because it's not, the structure of the thing isn't important. It's the results, right? Like, what do you want as an artist? Do you want more visibility for your art? Well, that's what we help with, right? Like screw all this other shit. Like, it doesn't really matter. That it's just like, what do you want to get? Let's go get you that. So that's what I say.
Do you want to know how I described it to someone the other day?
Oh, please.
I said that it was like Andy Warhol's factory without the drugs and sex and with a whole lot of support in the digital age. And they were like, I don't understand. And I was like, yeah, but that's what it is. That's what it is. It's like community for artists to share ideas and get ahead. And without all the problematic stuff that went on in the factory. So that's what I think you've done, which is a compliment.
I'm really interested in this. Because, you know, this was a while ago, but I spoke with Stephen Koch of the who did the biographies, and he talked about how manipulative Andy Warhol was, and like how he, you know, people would come in and just really just be waiting for Warhol to say something or do something, and people really just destroyed themselves trying to like level up in the factory. And anyway, I was just like thinking about that versus like the output of the factory, which I think indisputably created some of the best art of the decades that it ran in. Anyway, I hope that we have one side and not the other, I guess, is the upshot of that.
Well, going back to like it's run by a sane person.
Yeah.
So there we have it.
Yeah.
On that happy note, I have to let you go. And we have to do a part 3. We're just going to have to do this like, I don't know, once a year. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted me to?
No, but I should mention that we are about to embark on a live launch of the membership. So if anything that I've said here is of interest to all of you and you're thinking like, I want to join, I have a live masterclass where I'm going through a lot of the mistakes that artists tend to make, how we can fix them. And this is specifically for 2025, which I feel is unfortunately a very special year in the art world and other places. That happens on Tuesday, April 22nd at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Wait, so it's going to be live?
It's going to be live. So for people on in your neck of the woods, that might be pretty late, but there will be a recording. But you have to sign up to get it. So that's the thing. But you can sign up at makeartanyway.net.
Make Art Anyway, not Netvvrk. Make Art Anyway.
No, because the name of the masterclass is Make Art Anyway.
Awesome.
So
that's awesome. Well,
and we're going to talk about what to do in 2025 because this is about giving artists just like a roadmap to navigating these times, because what's happening now, it's just like even 2 years ago, like the rules are not the same. Like there's a whole lot of different conditions that we have to navigate now. So
yeah, for sure. My team's going to hate me because I'm now going to say we've got to get this live before The 28th. Was it the 28th of April? Yes.
22nd.
22nd.
22nd. That's when the live is. So yes.
Well, thank you for all you do. I think it's awesome. I'd like to join as a guest, please.
We will give you a complimentary guest pass.
Thank you. That's so nice of you. I feel like a VIP. I can moonlight as the artist I always wanted to be, but knew I couldn't be, just like you. And we will talk very
Well, you didn't go to art school to find that out, so you're one step ahead that way.
But my parents were one step ahead that way. They were like, you can minor in fine art, but you will do a major that's useful. So, English it was. English lit it was.
Yeah.
That was really wild. That
careers are born out of English lit.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Mom. I'll speak to you soon, Paddy. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Scene podcast. If you liked what you heard, I'd love it if you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to connect with us between episodes, follow us on Instagram at Watch Seen Art. I'm Carrie Scott, and I'll see you next time. Get it?